Hello, everybody out there in YouTube world, Facebook world, social media world, the world, everybody who can watch this video, wherever you're watching it from. Welcome to another edition of Musings with MGL. As always, I'd like to start off by saying thank you for watching my tapes. If the camera's a little bouncy today, as you can see, I'm actually outside now. The lighting and stuff inside the house was just crap, but since the weather here in Florida is nice right now, I'm kind of out here on my pool deck. Figure I can get some nice sunshine lighting over there, nothing in the background, no family members walking around in underwear or anything like that, so it's actually pretty good. But it makes the camera a little bouncy because I have it set up here on the table on like a little improvised little platform. So if you see it bouncing around or whatever, that's why. I apologize. Hopefully nobody gets motion sickness and it doesn't cause them any issues. So welcome to another edition of MGL. As always, if you like what I have to say, please click and subscribe on the channel. Click the little bell for the notifications to let you know when I post a new video. Give me a like, give me a dislike, give me a comment, give me a share, whatever. I really appreciate it. It really helps my channel grow. So this is another edition of Musings with MGL, and this edition is going to be something that I like to call Our Country Has Gone Friggin' Insane, okay? Has gone batshit crazy, all right? Just over the last 24 to 48 hours, there have been stories after stories after stories posted about crazy stuff that's going on in our country right now because of this virus. And what I mean by that is government overreach, draconian laws, excessive enforcement of these laws, turning this country into what many would call a police state. You hear a lot of comparisons to things like Nazi Germany and show us your papers and stuff like that. Now, obviously, I never compare anything to Nazi Germany. I hate it when people call like President Trump a Nazi or people call people Hitler. Look, nothing probably ever in the history or the future of our world will ever compare to what happened in Nazi Germany, okay? A lot of the stuff that's going on right now is certainly draconian. It has the same sort of philosophy, I think, behind it, but of course nobody's stuffing anybody in trains and mass genociding large amounts of people. So when I see people out there say things like, oh, this reminds me of Nazi Germany, or this sounds awful brown shirtish, I don't generally like those comparisons because, again, it really diminishes and takes away from what actually happened during World War II with the Nazis and what happened to the Jewish people and just the planet as a whole. So in no way would I ever compare anything that we're going through today to Nazi Germany. But I do understand why people are throwing that phrase out there and that term out there, because a lot of the stuff that's going on here today can be very authoritarian from a government standpoint. It can be very infringement on people's rights. It does have a lot of show us your papers feel to it. So it may not be on the human tragedy scale, obviously, of something like World War II and Nazi Germany, but on a political scale, on an infringement of human rights and human freedom scale, it's in the same category from that sort of standpoint. So I'm going to roll through here real quickly a couple stories that have just hit the webs over the last couple of days that just show how batshit crazy everything has gone out there. At some point, and I promise this one of my earlier videos as well, I'm going to get really better at this technically, and I'll be able to pull up the articles on the screen, and I'll be able to scroll through them, read them, show you what to say. You can read along and have my little picture down in the corner. At some point, I'll be able to do that. I'm not very good with technology, so at some point, I will figure out how to do that, and it'll make it a little bit more exciting. But for today's purposes, and until I can figure that out, I've got two little cell phone here, so I'm going to scroll through, and I'm going to read you the headlines and a little bit of the stories of each of these, and just listen to them, listen to the headlines, listen to the stories that are behind them, and then you can go out and find them yourself, obviously, just by Googling. They're all from trusted websites. They're not from weird conspiratorial sites, or they're not from, crazy blogs or anything. These are national news outlets. Now, I know a lot of them are fake news, but this is not that type of fake news. These are just reporting stories about the craziness that's going on out there. So I'm going to scroll through these and comment about a little of them. And I just want you to listen to them and take them all in as I go through them and realize what the hell is going on out there in today's day and age, okay? So the first one is from CNN. I know, fake news. I get it. Not a trusted news source. But this isn't them reporting on Trump or some conservative thing. So I trust it as a news source for this particular article. So here we go. Headline: New Mexico using cell phone data to create social distancing models and considering more restrictive travel measures. So check this out. New Mexico is using cell phone data from a third party to create social distancing models as a way to gauge whether residents are adhering to social distancing models, Governor Michelle Grisham said on Thursday. The data is being provided by Descartes Labs in Santa Fe, which has access to the cell phone data, the governor's office said in a statement. So let's digest that. So what's happening is a third-party company is compiling a bunch of cell phone data, most likely, obviously, where you're at, giving them to the government so the government can look at them and see if people are actually complying with the social distancing rules. You know, obviously, if you've got a cell phone data and it shows a whole bunch of people standing in the same place, then people aren't following the social distancing rules. If you've got a bunch of people all over the place, then they are following the social distancing rules. Or where are they going? If they are gathering large groups, where are they doing it? Are they doing it in public parks? Are they doing it at Walmart? Are they doing it at church? Well, let's figure out where they're doing it, and let's go in there and see if we can break up those groups and take them down. So that is really scary to me, that they're basically accessing our cell phone data now, that they're using a third party to gather up cell phone data so that they can put together to see if people are complying with the social distancing rules so that they can tweak their models and make better social distancing models. So that's freaking scary to me. I don't know if it's scary to you, but it's certainly something that I don't approve of. The state also wants to screen truckers who are bringing in supplies and take their temperatures, but doesn't have enough temperature readers to do so, Grisham said. So now every trucker that comes in bringing supplies, they want to take their temperature, I guess, before they cross the border to come into their state to allow them to get rid of their signs, or to get rid of their supplies. This is crazy. I mean, that's scary to me. So that's one article. Okay, they're collecting cell phone data to figure out if people are complying with social distancing rules. And then they're going to use that data to create better social distancing rules, okay? I don't know about you, but that scares the crap out of me. This one from KESQ.com. It's News Channel 3. So it's a local news channel in Palm Springs where this story takes place. Here's the headline. Palm Springs implements stricter fines for violating emergency orders. Palm Springs City Manager David Reddy issued a supplementary order imposing stricter fines for those in violation of state, county, and city orders. The fine amounts for the first violation may be up to $5,000. So $5,000 they want to fine you if you're not following their stay-at-home rules when it comes to social distancing. Up to $10,000 for a second violation. And the third and any subsequent violators will see a fine of up to $25,000. So think about that. $5,000, $10,000, up to $25,000 that they will fine you for not following the rules and for violating their stay-at-home orders and stuff like that. So that's scary to me as well. $25,000. So here we have a situation where people are most likely out of work because the government has forcibly shut down their business and told customers and stuff they can't go there. So we're going to force you out of work. Then if you happen to come out of your house when we tell you not to, we're going to fine you $5,000 for doing that, and then $10,000 and $25,000. So we've put you out of work, given you a rule. If you violate that rule, we're going to fine you even though we've now put you out of work and you don't have any money. Think about that. How ridiculous is that? That, at least, you've heard other stories. I'm in Florida, as I've said before. In Florida recently, our Supreme Court just signed an order that said anybody who gets arrested for violating any of the rules, any stay-at-home orders or the curfews, are to be held with no bond. And I talked about this, I believe, on a video a couple days ago, which is why I don't have an article or anything pulled up today. But in Florida, if you get arrested for violating your one of the curfews or one of the stay-at-home rules, you are to be held with no bond until you go in front of a judge at first appearances, which is usually within 24 hours, but it could be longer depending on a state of emergency. So that puts you on par with people like murderers and rapists and people arrested for domestic battery. They get no bonds. And now guess what? stay-at-home curfew violators get no bonds as well. So that's another article. So they want to fine you $25,000 for that. Here's a big one that's been making the rounds everywhere today. A lot of you have probably seen this one. This is out of ABC 7, and the story is out of Colorado. And the headline, Dad arrested in front of 6-year-old for social distancing violations. So out of Brighton, Colorado, a police department in Colorado is conducting an internal investigation into a social distancing crackdown that ended with a man getting arrested in front of his daughter during a game of t-ball. So this man, if you read the rest of the article, this man and his wife and his daughter, just the three of them, who remember all live together, so the social distancing rules don't apply to family members that live in the same household. The three of them decided to walk up to a local empty field, basically a park, to play t-ball because they're probably bored out of their friggin' minds. So they get out of the house. They're not talking to anybody else. They're not hanging out in any other groups. It's just the three of them over in the corner playing t-ball, and the cops show up, and they end up arresting this guy and putting him in the back of their patrol car. Now, apparently, when you read through the rest of the story, he was back there for about 10 to 15 minutes, it sounds like, and then I guess they released him and let him go probably when a supervisor came up. They called a supervisor for guidance. The incident was caught on cell phone camera by a city councilman. Following the incident, the Brighton Police Department apologized, stating that they are, quote, deeply sorry for the incident, according to ABC News. Yeah, I'll bet they are. So now we have a situation where you are being arrested in front of your 6-year-old child and your wife for being at a park with just the three of you, not talking to any other people, practicing the social distancing, but you're now being arrested by law enforcement, a dad in front of his 6-year-old daughter for playing t-ball, not affecting anybody else, okay? That's scary. So you thought fines were scary. That's scary. So that story is making the news all over the place. This is the latest one that I just saw today that was popping up everywhere. This is from Market Insider. Again, not a crazy, conspiracy blog or anything. It's a standard website, newspaper in the country, Market Insider. Here's the headline. Walmart, Costco, Target are banned from selling non-essential items such as clothing and electronics in parts of the U.S. Big box stores and grocery chains in certain areas of the U.S. are being banned from selling non-essential items to customers to reduce foot traffic and prevent the spread of coronavirus. Some local governments have issued executive orders that require chains to either empty areas of the store with non-essential items such as clothing and electronics or rope off those items from customers. And you can actually find cell phone footage out there. It's now starting to make its way around social media, Facebook and Twitter, etc. People going to Walmarts and seeing vast sections of Walmart just roped off. People can't go there. So basically, the governments are now deciding what's essential and what's not essential. So I guess just the grocery section, I don't know. I mean, the clothing section is roped off. What if you have a child that needs clothes? They've gotten dirty. You've run out of clothes. You've run out of underwear. I mean, you can't go out and buy new underwear. So let's say you run out of underwear. You're not allowed to go out and buy new underwear. Some people might consider that to be essential. I saw videos where they had like the garden department shut off, the entire garden department. So a guy went there because he wanted to buy some seeds because he has a garden in his backyard because he's trying to grow some food just in case the grocery store is somehow shut down or whatever, and he can't even buy seeds to plant the food. If you're stuck at home, right, and you have to mow the grass because they've shut down all the businesses, right, so now you can't have your yard guy come to your house anymore and mow your grass, so you got to mow your own grass. What happens if your lawnmower breaks or something? You're not allowed to go to the store and buy another lawnmower. You're not allowed to go buy oil for your lawnmower. Or what if you are an essential, let's say you're an essential employee and you still have to drive back and forth to work, but your car breaks down and you need a spare tire, or you need some tools to fix it, or you need oil because you need to give it an oil change because it's clunking around. Well, guess what? Now you can't do it because they're deciding that that's not essential. So how do you decide in a huge grocery store, right, like Walmart, how do you decide what's essential? Are they just going to tell them you can only open the grocery and the medicine section? I mean, I can tell you all kinds of things at Walmart that are probably essential. You might need to go to the electronics section. Let's say you're like me, you're a businessman like me, and let's say your computer breaks, Okay, I have a laptop that has all my legal documents and stuff on it. What happens if something happens? I drop that, the dog eats it or whatever. Now I need to go to Walmart to buy a new laptop. It's sure as hell essential to me, because if I don't buy a new laptop, I can't work from home and continue my legal business. So how the hell am I going to go to Walmart and buy a new laptop if they consider laptops not to be essential because they want to cut down on foot traffic? They don't get to decide. Like, the government, in my opinion, doesn't get to decide what's essential to me and what's not essential to me. I get to decide what's essential to me and what's not essential to me. So now they're not even restricting directly me by saying, here's a curfew and you can't go out. They're indirectly now affecting my rights by telling third-party things like Walmart what they can and can't sell, all in the name of cutting down on the foot traffic at the store. So again, who the hell gets to decide that? So I can't buy seeds now. I can't buy a computer if my computer breaks. I can't buy fresh underwear if I need fresh underwear. They're not going to be considered essential. I mean, that's ridiculous to me. So, if you have a pool, again, you can go through all these. You have a pool, you need to go buy chlorine, because I would say the pool is essential, because if you're stuck at friggin' home and can't go anywhere, you got to keep your pool clean. But they block off the garden center, which is where they keep all the pool supplies, because it's not considered essential. So this is nonsense. This is what's happening with this country. It's going crazy. They're cracking out all these draconian rules. They're now enforcing them. They're arresting fathers in front of their daughters. They're telling stores what they can and can't sell. They're jacking up fines on people who are already unemployed. I mean, this is getting ridiculous, ladies and gentlemen. And they're collecting our cell phone data now to track us to see if we're complying with the rules or not. Just now, locally, where I live, as I said, I live in Florida. The county that we live in down here, I hate when Facebook does that. They take you off of it. So the county that we live in down here just put out a public alert all over social media and on their website. Basically, the city commissioners and the county government have a Facebook page like most governments do. And they recently posted a notice for everybody, okay? Here's what it says. It's got the county that we live in. I don't want to tell everybody exactly where I live for various reasons. But it's an alert. So it's an alert from the county, okay? And it's basically says, it's from their official government page, and this is literally what it says: to report a violation of the local emergency resolution, curfew, or the governor's executive orders, call code enforcement, then they leave the number, and the sheriff's office non-emergency line, then they leave a number. And then they put this big fancy thing out there, colors on it. Look at it. Report a violation. I mean, look at it. Report a violation of the local emergency resolution, curfew, or governor's executive office. Call the code enforcement and sheriff's office. So they're now going into that territory where they're telling neighbors, they're asking neighbors to report on their neighbors if they're doing things that they don't approve of, curfew violations, standing out front of their house too late, whatever. So this is where people get into this Nazi Germany comparison, because that's what they were doing obviously back then. They were telling neighbors to report on their neighbors. If you see somebody with a star that's outside their house where they're not supposed to, call and report it to the brown shirts, and they'll come take care of that person. So they're now, not only are they passing these draconian laws and getting their law enforcement people to enforce them, they're now basically encouraging neighbor to tell on neighbor to point fingers at neighbors to snitch on neighbors and get them in trouble. And this has all kinds of bad connotations, obviously. If you have one neighbor that hates the other neighbor, you can run into a situation where people are making false reports just because they don't like a person. You don't like neighbor Joe down the street because he's the conservative in your area with the Trump sign out front, so you're going to call and make a report that he was out past 11 o'clock when the curfew was coming, get code enforcement out there to harass him. But even if you don't have something nefarious like that, if it's just nice old lady Miss Jane looking out her window and sees, somebody out when they're not supposed to be out, you're now encouraging that person to call law enforcement and snitch on their neighbors, okay? That's not how you bring a country together, all right? If you're trying to bring this country together right now and get everybody to cooperate and be on the same side and be, alone together, hashtag, the way to accomplish that is not to encourage the neighbors to tell on their neighbors. That's never a good policy by governments, okay? Certainly not a government that's free like we're supposed to be. This is why you get into these comparisons to fascist governments and communist governments and all these other places that basically do that, okay? You can look through propaganda films and stuff from the 40s out of Nazi Germany and see actual ads and stuff telling neighbors to snitch on neighbors. So there's all kinds. So this is the crazy shit that's gone on out there. Okay, I just wanted to run it down for people and let people know. You know, some people may not be paying attention to that. They may think this virus is, you know, serious and we need to do these things. And there's going to be a lot of people out there that do that. We all see them on Facebook that are going to agree with this. You know, if you go to any of these websites, like if you go to the Facebook page for the county government that I put in there, you know, you're going to see most of the people saying this is ridiculous. You guys are Nazis. Welcome to the brown shirts. But then, of course, you're going to get a percentage of them that also say, good, they should be doing this before, or they should have been doing this all along. If you're not willing to stay home, then so be it. You get whatever you get. This is about protecting me and blah, blah, blah. So that is what happens when you do that, okay? You pit neighbor against neighbor. And if you're trying to get everybody to get through this alone together, again, hashtag, that's not the way to do it. So wake up out there, people, okay? Things are starting to get real out there. When you're getting arrested, when they're collecting your cell phone data, when they're fining you, and then when they're encouraging you to turn in your neighbors because you think they might be violating one of these arbitrary rules that they just passed, which, again, I don't think they have constitutional right to do so, it's scary, okay? So scary times out there. So just, you know, be aware. That's all I can do. I'm not going to give you any advice on how to handle that or not handle that. I certainly wouldn't advise anybody to break the law or do anything crazy, but I certainly don't plan on, you know, snitching on my neighbors or spying on my neighbors and turning them in just because I think they're out when they're not supposed to be or whatever. That's just not how I want to live. That's not how I want this country to live, and that's not how the way this country is supposed to live. And hopefully most of you agree with me on that. If you've subscribed to my channel, if you're watching this, you probably do. So that's it. Just wanted to put that out there, run through some of the stories of the day, continue to keep people up to date. So just be careful out there, okay? Keep an eye on this stuff. Things are getting hectic out there, so we all got to kind of stand together, those of us who realize what's going on here and aren't just swallowing the, you know, the blue pill and following around like sheep. We need to keep an eye on it and stay vigilant with what we're doing. So, as always, again, subscribe, click the notifications, give me a like, comment, share, whatever you want to do. If you don't want to do any of it, don't do any of it. But I really appreciate you watching. So, until next time, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, stay open if you can, and carry on.